Many PowerMILL users have been requesting the ability to be able to lock the block in PowerMILL to a named workplane. This functionality, plus other minor enhancements to the block, have been added for the release of PowerMILL10. Using the part on the screen as an example, we can see clearly that if we look along the x-axis, that the part is tilted over at an angle relative to our global transform. So if we create our block, the block is the wrong size and in the wrong orientation. So the first thing we need to do is create a workplane to align the part into the correct orientation for machining. I already have a pre-created workplane at the top of the part, which brings the part into alignment. All I need to do now is recalculate my block to reposition it and resize it relative to that new workplane. If we take a look along the y-axis, we will notice that the part has two undercut regions towards the base. One way of machining these undercut regions is to use 3+2 axis machining with a workplane to align the part into the correct orientation. Again, I have two workplanes already created. If I activate one of these workplanes, you'll notice that the block has changed position. This is because now the coordinates on the block form are relative to this new workplane and not the original workplane at the top of the part. To prevent this from happening, to prevent the block from moving position, then we can actually specify a named workplane that the coordinates for the size of the block are relative to. In this case, it's the top workplane. I can also lock the block at this position by simply clicking on the lock icon, and now, regardless of which workplane is active, or even if the global transform is active, the block is still locked into the correct position. Another new enhancement to the block functionality is the new block editor toolbar. To activate this block editor, we simply double click anywhere on the block and the toolbar appears, and you will also notice that the block is instrumented with the yellow and blue drag handles. This means we can quickly and easily change the size and the position of the block using the intelligent cursor. For example, to change the overall width of the block, we can simply click on the blue drag handle, hold down the left mouse button, and using the intelligent cursor change the overall size. By holding down the shift key, both sides of the block are altered simultaneously. So here we can see that I've increased the block on both sides by 50 millimeters. The same goes for the length. I simply hover over the blue line, and again, using the intelligent cursor, I can change the overall length. At any time, if the snap filter is switched on, then the block will snap to key points on the model. If I make a mistake in resizing the block, then I can simply undo the last operation, or alternatively I can undo back to the beginning. If we take a look along the x-axis, I can change the overall length of the block, again by simply clicking on the blue arrows and holding down shift. If I want to, I can change the overall height of the block, in both directions, again using the intelligent cursor. If I want to reposition the block, so keeping it same size but just moving its position, then I can simply click on the yellow spherical markers and I can move the block anywhere relative to the part. If I undo that, to make this more accurate, I can also use the new grid function, which is accessible from the new status bar. This will then allow me to position more accurately, snapping to the grid. When I have finished moving and resizing the block, then I simply click on the tick to accept the changes